يا رحمن يا رحيم.
The time is just gone, 7 minutes past 8, right here on Salam Media, News and Views. And we're going across to be joined by my brother Tahir Maepa. We're talking about Sekunjalo and the victory that they have achieved in the courts over Standard Bank. Sheikh Tahir, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jummah Mubarak to you, my brother.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Juma Mubarak to you, Niyat, and all the Salam Media team and the listeners.
Yes, Sekunjalo and Standard Bank, and we know what has been actually playing out. And when we look at the statement by Iqbal Survey talking about the days of the banks determining the fate of people who have a right to bank are close to reckoning. Now, this is a very profound statement, a very, very powerful statement, Tahir. And considering what has been playing out between Standard Bank closing the bank accounts of the Sekunjalo group, very, very, in fact, looking at just the outcome and the victory that Sekunjalo had achieved, obviously this speaks volumes.
Absolutely. We obviously welcome this victory of Sekunjalo. This is something great, not only for the company itself, but for all South Africans. I think what Iqbal Sevi and his group are doing, it's something that we should all be proud of, because this is not about him. He just happened to be somebody who decided that, you know what, it doesn't matter what it costs me, I'm going to fight this giant, this Goliath. And we all know how powerful banks are. And I'm sure it's taking a strain on him. It has taken a strain on his businesses and on his associate. However, this is one of those battles that are worth fighting. It's like when our forebears decided that, you know what, the system of apartheid, it cannot be allowed to flourish. We are going to put our lives at stake. We are going to confront it until such a time that we lose, because of it's a system that is unjust. And we all know that the banks are so unjust, especially where we are concerned as Black people, where we've been treated negatively for many years, for a very long time. And this victory by Sekunjalo, it's one step towards rectifying the rot and the sickness in the banking system.
Yes, Tyre, also with this urgent interim interdict that Sekunjalo had taken against Standard Bank. And when one looks at the banks, they think they are almighty, they think they are all powerful, and they can do whatever they want at the peril and at the detriment of others. And we know that the reason the bank had given for the closure of Sekunjalo's accounts was what they called reputational risk based on unfavorable reporting by rival media outlets. Now, again, the whole issue surrounding Sekunjalo is about freedom of speech in this country. And who are the banks to actually decide what is reputational risk? Who are the banks to decide what the media prints or what the media shouldn't be printing? And based on that, you decide, you take drastic measures and you close their accounts.
No, you're quite correct, and you're putting it nicely when you say that who are the banks to decide on what reputational risk is. In fact, it's not. You should call them who they are. Who are these criminals who are going to tell us what reputational risk is? Because these are a bunch of criminals, and they've been criminal organizations for a very long time. But what is even worse, they've entered the political arena, where the banks now want to decide what we should consume as citizens of this country. So I still believe that this whole fight is about destroying freedom of speech, because media plays a very vital role. Now, are you saying that if for instance, independent media can start writing negative reports about other media institutions, are the banks supposed to now to go and close those bank accounts based on negative reporting? This is not how things should be. Negative reporting sometimes is premeditated by certain circumstances, whether it be political or economical and all that. What is important is that the information must go out there. We will be the judge in terms of how we receive that particular information. So the banks cannot enter that arena. Their role is to make sure that the people who bank with them, they comply with the financial rules of the country. And they are the ones who are supposed to make sure that all these money launderings and all these things, negative things that are happening within the banking system are not supposed to be happening. But they are happening right under their noses. That is not important, and that is their mandate. But what really bothers me the most is the fact that the Reserve Bank and the institutions that are supposed to be regulating the banking industry, they've been quiet throughout the whole process. They've never even entered this fray, because I was expecting by now that the regulators were supposed to enter this particular, they need to have a view about this, but they're keeping quiet because clearly there's political consideration that have been taken. So until such a time we have a situation where these institutions are independent of politics, are independent of outside influences, unfortunately, the fight will have to continue until we reform this country to a country that we envisage to be a country that is run by the rule of law, a constitutional democracy that will look after all its citizens, irrespective of color or creed.
Exactly, and the point you make about a constitutional democracy, and this was a point that was reinforced even by the NFP leader in Parliament, Ahmed Manzoor Sheikh Imam, and he spoke about the threats to media freedom, and also at the same time, what he also spoke about the bank, not simply an assault on a media institution, but an assault on the very foundations of democracy. And this is what he had actually called for. He called for the bank to show transparency as far as the matter is concerned. He called it a ridiculous decision, and again, the whole issue surrounding banks to be more committed to press freedom and democracy.
Exactly, exactly. And I could not have said it better. I fully agree with those sentiments, because at the end of the day, let's look at history. The reason why 1 million people died in Iraq is because of the media peddling lies about what is happening in that country. A massacre of 1 million people because of the media. So if we are not going to have media freedom, independent media, again, wrong peddling of information is going to continue, which may cause catastrophes in this country. So it is quite important. And when I say media, we talk about all media, irrespective of who they are. Whether it's a independent media, News 24, Naspers, or Salam Media, media need to be allowed to be free of any influence. Because at the end of the day, we, the consumers of this information, must be fed with what is truthful, that is fair, so that when we take decisions based on truthfulness. And currently, unfortunately, that's not what we are seeing. And we are seeing financial institutions entering a fray that is not their jurisdiction. And we, as South Africans, we need to start waking up and say, but you know what? This democracy, it was achieved through blood, and we cannot allow it to be snatched away from us like pickpocketers down the road in Johannesburg, North Street. We need to make sure that we protect it with everything that we have. And institutions like Netbank and Standard Bank and ABSA that are involved in these kinds of things, I think we need to start saying that we need to send a message to them that, you know what, you must either voluntarily change from your wicked ways, or we'll have to change you forcefully. Because of we as South Africans, this democracy, we value it and we want to protect it with everything that we have. And we're not going to allow financial institutions or capital to dictate the future of ordinary South Africans. We'll decide our future.
Yes, Tahir, we're going to put you on hold. I just want to play out one or two adverts, and we'll come back to you after the break.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media, your humanitarian broadcaster.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
The time is just gone 22 minutes past 8, and we continue our discussion with Tahir Maepa against the developments, the latest developments with regard to Sekunjalo versus Standard Bank, and a victory for Sekunjalo in more ways than one. Tahir, just to continue, and interesting when you speak about independent media, when you cited the example of Iraq, where 1 million lives were lost as a result of media, and all of this at the end of the day, when one looks at the banking sector in particular, when one talks about capitalism and the capitalism that they actually promote, and if we take a deeper look into the media market in terms of how it is comprised, who is in control, and also at the same time, are you pushing, especially the mainstream media? We're talking of the media conglomerates, the mega media conglomerates, and how they have actually used the media, which is obviously privately owned and controlled, but again to push this capitalist agenda to the detriment of people. And again, we talk about democracy, but we know democracy has actually suffered at the hands of capitalism, and also the implications as far as the media is concerned.
Yes, look, we all know that, for instance, most of the media houses in this country, they didn't just pop up now. Most of the uh, owners of these media houses, they come from the apartheid era. These are the beneficiaries of the past, sad past of this country. And some of them, I don't believe they've accepted the reality of South Africa, whereby all South Africans are now living within a democratic state, a constitutional state. And that sense of loss of power and influence, I don't think is sitting well with them. And that is why they are not allowing any emergence of uh, black people who are not part of the mainstream to emerge in either into business, into commerce, into media industry, and so forth. And anybody who seems to emerge like that, that person or that institution becomes a threat. And from what I could read about Sekunjalo, Sekunjalo is one of those black-owned businesses in this country with no debt. So they are not dependent on the banks for the running of their businesses. They're not dependent on handouts from these big capitalist individuals who are the bedrock of our economy. And that in itself, this is not what they want. The whole system is premised on racism. And it is these white male racists who are running the machinery behind these particular institutions. Yes, they may throw one or two black CEOs who are generally, most of them, puppets who are not there to transform but to perpetuate what these businesses are made of. And this is where the problem is. And if you look at the past 30 years, how many of sizable black businesses have emerged that can counter these old apartheid emergence businesses? We don't have any. And these people, they are hard at work and making sure that there's none that come. If you look at all the so-called rich black people, they were made by them, including our president. They were made by these verkramte white males who are in control of this economy and who are still suffering from the Swargefar amnesia. So these are the people that we cannot really change. This is who they are. But we need to push them back and make sure that every time this ugly head of the past emerges, we need to chop it off until such a time we level the playing fields and we realize the South Africa that Nelson Mandela wanted to see, a rainbow nation that is based on respect and tolerance.
Well, definitely. And also, unfortunately, we tried to get hold of Iqbal Survey as well, but unfortunately, we couldn't get in touch with him because, he's just said so much. And obviously, what he mentioned that this victory that Sekunjalo has achieved is a win for every person, for every company, for every organization who have had their accounts unilaterally terminated by these banks, and also at the same time warning the banks that they cannot be a law unto themselves anymore.
Yes, and I said to my NEC that, I'm looking at this guy, and currently he's a lone ranger fighting this battle alone. And I recommended to my NEC that we should find a way to raise money to join this battle as a friend of the court, because of this is in the public interest, and majority of our members are affected by the racial disease that is rife in the banking system. Most of our members have lost their houses, their cars, and they've been blacklisted by these banks over insignificant things. And we need to take a decision to say that, you know what, we need to enter this fray, because it is for the country, it's not for an individual. And I see Iqbal Sevi as a modern day David or Dawood, who is confronting this giant that everybody is scared of. But South Africans in particular, all of us, we need to understand that these institutions, they can only survive because of us. It is us that makes them to exist. And maybe we need to reach a point where we need to target one of these banks and shut it down. And to shut these banks down, it's easy. We must just take out our money and stop banking with them. We must just have a consensus. Which one do we start with? Because of their existence is based on shareholding. And there's no shareholder who'd want their share price to plunge due to decisions of certain individuals. And it may not necessarily be the policy of the banks, but it may be the policy of certain individuals within the banking system. And unfortunately, it's very difficult to pin exactly who's responsible for all this mess. But we need to start saying that, you know what, let's shut one down completely, and so that the rest can learn that we are not going to allow anyone to take us for granted.
Well, Tahir, this was obviously reinforced by Ahmed Manzoor Sheikh Imam, who even said that if they refuse to withdraw this ridiculous decision, we have no choice but to call on South Africans to close their Standard Bank accounts and shift to banks who are committed to press freedom and democracy. So that was basically reinforced by the Member of Parliament as well. But Sheikh Tahir, Jazakallah khairan so much, as always, for your time. I do appreciate you taking time out, and we wish you well. We wish you a wonderful Jummah ahead as well. And inshallah, looking forward to further engagements. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh Tahir Maepa with us this morning, and we're going to go for a break. We come back, we're going to highlight the Hafiji inquest, and we've got the sister of the late Dr. Hussein Hafiji, Sarah Hafiji, coming up next.